Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 4 of the Root Chakra. We're going to call today's segment the shadow aspects of the Root Chakra, where we'll cover the shadow side of the Root Chakra in addition to the demon of the Root Chakra. And when I say demon, I want you to think about when you say I'm fighting my demons or I slay my demons, something that's the negative aspect of that chakra that you don't want to be in that space. So basically, you have to overcome that aspect because that demon is what's going to pull you down to a lower vibration. That's basically what it is. Because when you look at the whole spectrum of everything, either you're high vibe or you're low vibe, it's all on the same line. It just depends on where you are. If you let that demon, come out and defeat you, then it's going to drag you down to that lower vibration. As you overcome that demon or quote unquote slay your demons, then you will be more successful and moving into that higher vibration. And in this case, when you're dealing with the chakras, moving into that higher vibration is what helps you to open the chakra a little bit more, allowing you to get more light into that chakra. So, first things first, let's get the demon out of the way. What would be the demon of the first chakra? So, we already talked about the aspects of the chakra. You think about survival, stability, safety, security. You think about those things. What's the one thing that will inhibit you from achieving all of those things? Fear. That's the demon of the first chakra. So facing fear can help you reignite the chakra if it was vibrating at a lower frequency, meaning that it wasn't as open, if it's underactive, however you want to look at it. Facing your fear can help you reignite that chakra, or it can help you activate it if it's been dormant, or it could just help you further open the chakra if it's already nice and kind of the energy is flowing through it. So the root chakra, as we spoke about before, is the foundation of our entire system. So you don't want your foundation built on fear, because one of two things happen when you're operating from fear. Either you're making bad decisions or you have an inability to move, because you don't want to be scared into a place to where you feel like you can't do something. You can't physically move. You can't physically bring yourself to do it. For instance, if you were supposed to talk in front of an audience, or you were supposed to give a presentation and then you get stage fright, that's that fear kicking in. And you don't want fear to inhibit you from doing certain things. That could also be, if you're looking at someone who might know what they want to do in life. They have an inkling of what they want to do in life, but they're too scared to try it for one reason or another. They might feel like they're going to fail. They might fear the judgment of others, anything like that. So fear is not what you would want your foundation built on. And then your root chakra, being that it's like the building block on which all the other chakras sit on or rest on, it's very important to balance this chakra and take care of this chakra and make sure that your demon is not overtaking this chakra. Because if your foundation is weak, your structure, meaning your system, your chakra system, your body, everything will be weak. If you think as within, so without, and you have to look at the state of your energetic body, because everything happens in the emotional body or the energetic body before it manifests into the physical body. So when I say as within, so without, the state of your energetic body will be reflected in your physical body. If we don't balance the chakra before we progress to others, our growth will be without roots. It'll be ungrounded and will lack the stability necessary for true growth, future growth. It could be the sense of like superficial growth in an area where if you weren't rooted, that means that anything can shake you. Anything could shake your belief system. Anything could, you could just change your ideas with the wind because you don't have your foundation rooted in anything. So your growth cannot flourish properly. So now that we spoke about the demon, let's get into the aspects of the shadows. So let's see. When we talk about the shadow aspects, if you think about someone who might be hyper independent, you're like, I don't need anyone to do anything for me. I can do it all myself. Or, you might hear a woman say, I don't need a man. I can do it by myself. Anything like that. When someone is hyper dependent, it's because at a base level, at a subconscious level, they think that their basic needs won't be met. And that means that they are worried about their safety. They rather take everything in their own hands instead of allowing someone else to help them. And, there might be valid reasons for people to be like this, but again, then that is an issue within the root chakra. Maybe they might have depended on someone before and that person either wasn't reliable or trying to control every aspect or, anything on a negative aspect would make someone really start to develop that hyper independence. And in this life, we are all interconnected, so then we have to be interdependent. Like we have a level of independence, but then we have a level where we need to be able to depend on somebody else because we can't do everything on our own. If you believe in a higher power, whether you call that higher power God or the Most High or what have you, you might be depending on your higher power to get you through life or through a tough situation. You might be depending on a person to, help you out watching your kids. You might be depending on a person to help you pay your bills, what have you, whatever the dependence is. When you are hyper independent, that is a shadow quality of the root chakra. So being that hyper independence is a shadow quality of the root chakra, the being needy or allowing yourself to accept help from others would be the way that you combat that shadow quality. That's how that you come out of the shadows in that aspect. Because when you allow others to help you and you become interdependent, you're allowing yourself to be vulnerable. You're allowing yourself to deepen your connection with others and have a sense of belonging. Because when you allow yourself to accept help from others, it's a form of taking care of yourself and the right to exist. Because when you look at that aspect in comparison to belonging, then it makes you feel as if you're not in this alone. You're not in the world alone. You're not in this life alone, because you have someone that you can depend on. Now, you don't want to depend on someone so much that you become codependent. You still have to have your sense of independence, but what you don't want is to be hyper independent to where you don't allow yourself to accept help from others. You don't allow someone to step in and say, hey, I got you. So that shadow quality of hyper independence can be overcome by allowing others to gift you with a form of help. So the next shadow quality I'll speak about is greed. So greed, in a sense, if you look at those who are born wealthy, they're raised to expect abundance in their lives. Expecting prosperity makes it easier to create when you are raised in an environment surrounded by abundance, by wealth. Then you have others, like majority of people in the world who were not born wealthy or into wealthy families, and they were taught not to expect too much by the thought process and patterns passed down by parents or other family members. If you think of an example of, you can't have such and such because we don't have enough money. Or you think about, let's joke. Mama, I want to go to McDonald's. Do you have McDonald's money? When you think about stuff like that, those types of scenarios become inundated in our minds so much that it becomes a program. And when that program gets written at such a young age, it is teaching us not to expect too much because we don't have enough. So it puts us in that scarcity mindset where we're raised with these concepts of scarcity. Then it becomes a challenge for us to spend money on ourselves as we grow up, because even if we have the money and the wiggle room to do so, we start thinking about if the money would be best spent somewhere else. Or maybe it's not a good time to buy something for ourselves. Maybe our children need something. Maybe our house needs groceries. Maybe, we'll find 1,000,001 reasons not to get something for ourselves, not to do something nice. We don't allow ourselves the luxuries. And when we do allow ourselves the luxuries, it's often with, tinged with guilt or worry. Like, oh my gosh, I bought my shirt. Should I take this back? Do I need to spend this money on this? Or you feel bad that you bought this and then you didn't buy something for your kids or the family. Even if you normally buy them things and then don't buy things for yourself, when you do buy stuff for yourself, you're like, oh, I should have bought them something too, And what this is creating is an inability to have. So then you're messing with that right, which is the right to have. So in this aspect, greed is the shadow aspect that can help heal the inability to have. So when, you look at greed, it's allowing you to desire to be in this world, to experience the physicality, the manifestation of physical things, being that we're in the physical realm. And greed doesn't always have to be about money. It doesn't have to be about, physical things. It could be, time to yourself. It could be, when you really get down to it, you just think about the things that maybe you've neglected at a point in time. Because when our first chakra is programmed on a foundation of scarcity rather than abundance, and remember that scarcity is built on a foundation of fear. That's why you want to slay that demon. But when you allow that to keep happening, then you don't only not allow yourself to have, clothes or shoes or food or whatever that you want. You might not allow yourself to have time to yourself because you're giving so much of it away. You're giving so much of yourself away. And then you feel like, oh, if I take this time to myself, the world is going to collapse, or my family's going to fall apart, or, it's like you're putting all this unnecessary pressure on yourself. And when we allow ourselves to have more, it increases our self-worth. Period. It helps us to look objectively at what we've allowed ourselves to have in terms of money, love, time to ourselves, rest, or pleasure. Because, when you think about it, you say, what haven't I allowed myself to do? I haven't allowed myself to have, a restful night's sleep, a, pleasure in my life, meaning that you're doing something that you truly love to do, not something you have to do, something you love to do. If you love to sit around and read books all day, if you want to sit around and watch Netflix, if you want to travel the world, have you allowed yourself to have that experience? And if you have, did you feel guilty about it, or was it tinged with some sort of worry, like, oh my gosh, something's gonna fall apart, or I shouldn't be doing this right now? So that's why it allows us to look at that objectively. And if you look over, what is always touted in society, or I don't want to say always, but a lot of the times, taking care of ourselves is depicted as being like selfish or evil. And not taking care of yourself results in the need to compensate in some other area, or having others, provide for us. So if you think back to that day 2 writing prompt, when I asked, how can I better support myself? This is a great way for you to support yourself by allowing yourself to have, so that you can have that ability to have. So maybe you start small. If it's not something materialistic, because, maybe you don't have the money right now, maybe you start gifting yourself with time. Maybe, you allow yourself to have love in your life. And that doesn't have to be romantic love. That can be, familial. It could be, friendship type of love. But allowing yourself to have these experiences are good. And then what the goal should be, if you're using greed as a way to combat that inability to have, is the goal should really be to raise our ability to have high enough to fit our needs. So then we are firing on all aspects. So it's not like underneath it all, your subconscious is saying, no, I don't deserve this. Because when that is at play, then our conscious minds, our thinking minds, are given an extra obstacle to overcome. So basically, you have to reprogram your subconscious. And you can do that by taking little steps, by allowing yourself to have, so that you increase your ability to have, if you just do it with, time, or just something that you find pleasure in doing. Even if it's just 20 minutes a day, just that would help you out with overcoming that inability to have. So another type of a shadow aspect would be when you are inflexible with the way that you are, or the way that you think. Like if you're too overly judgmental, you know everything, so no one can tell you anything. So you're not allowing for like fresh ideas or anything like that. That's almost like becoming hyper independent, but in the mindset. Like no one can tell you anything because you know everything. When someone says, oh, blah, 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 I know that already. So, well, why am I talking to you or telling you anything since you know everything? That, for one, is not a very good quality to have socially. It does become more of an annoyance to a lot of people, but it really creates a barrier to your intellectual capacity, because it doesn't allow you to absorb information. It doesn't allow you to look at things through the eyes of innocence, or without looking at something with a preconceived notion. When you allow yourself to be what's the word I want to use? Not really gullible, but if you look at things like a child, like a child that's learning something new, and they don't know much. They're just so amazed with learning something new. Like if you take that approach, then you are allowing yourself the gift of really just that kind of intellectual innocence, or that ability to have fresh ideas brew within you, because you're allowing different perspectives from different people. You don't have to come out, knowing everything or super judgmental about everything. And then another shadow quality, when we were talking about like the overactive root chakra, one of those qualities, or qualities, was laziness. And so if you look at that as a shadow quality as well, because it's all about perspective. So if your chakra is overactive, then you might be extremely lazy because you're very comfortable, you're very complacent, you're in that slow energy and this and this and that. But what happens when you're the opposite? So if, your energy is just so high that you don't know how to sit down, you don't know how to relax. Your energy has you doing so much because, and here we're going to bring up that demon again, that fear kicks in. That, so if your foundation is built on fear, your problem at this point is you have the fear that you have so much to do and you wouldn't get anything done if you sit down, so you prevent yourself from relaxing. So you keep going and going and going like the Energizer Bunny. when really to take care of that root, you need to rest. You need to relax. No one can go 24/7. At some point, you have to rest, because that's how your body rejuvenates. That's how your mind rejuvenates. Your cells rejuvenate. Your energy charges up. And so that laziness, if you look at that as the shadow aspect, that would be your way of combating that energy, or that fear that's keeping you from being able to relax, because you feel like you just have too much going on. And so I think another thing I want to touch on about fear is when you don't want to let fear hold you back from doing anything that you should be doing, but you also don't want to let go of fear so much that you just become 100% fearless, and then you're not like adhering to the physical limitations of this realm, or the physical limitations of your body. It's good to challenge yourself. It's good to face your fears, but keep your safety in mind. You don't want your fearlessness to compromise your right to be safe. So I think that is all for today with the shadow qualities and the demons. So if you have any questions, or you wanted more clarity on something, feel free to message me or comment right under this video. And until tomorrow, peace.